Greetings from NeuronThemes. In this video, we are going to learn how to create a form that will affect the increase in conversion, user interaction, and generating leads. When you break it down to pieces, a form consists of simple elements like text boxes, number boxes, checkboxes, drop-down menus, and a button. Use these forms to integrate them with powerful marketing tools to collect data for various purposes. Let's build a captivating form for a wedding invitation, all without a single line of code. From the left panel, search for the form element and drag it onto the page. As you can see, our form comes with some essential elements and a plain default setup. This gives you a great amount of flexibility for you to work on. From the Content tab, you can manage all the form fields. First, type in the name of the form. Down here, you can see the list of all the fields in the form. You can easily duplicate the fields with this button, or delete fields with the same flexibility. Or if you want to add more fields, simply click on this Add Element button. You can also use the drag and drop functionality to order the form fields. Click on one particular form field to open its settings. First, you can choose the type of the field to collect a variation of data. Marketers use web forms for a number of reasons: to complete an order, to keep track of a customer's personal information, or collect lead information. You can change the label and the placeholder text to name the fields, as it will be easier for users to know what type of information they are being required. Always type in the label of the field, even if in some cases you decide to hide it for design purposes, as it will be displayed on the mail you receive when users submit your forms. The placeholder text appears inside the form fields, but for the sake of our design, we will choose to not display it. You can set certain fields to be required so users cannot proceed with the form submission without entering the information. You can switch the required mark on to show the users the field must be completed. Using the column width settings, you can create outstanding form layouts in which you can set the exact width value in percentage. For our design, we will need to show two form fields in one row, and the way to do that is to add both form fields a value of 50% width. Now, let's add the name and the email address fields in the same row. Fill in the data required like we did on the first field. Set the value of the column width to be 50%, and here we have it. Our fields are displayed next to each other. We are going to need another row where two fields are lined up. Let's duplicate the fields. Perfect. Now let's change their content. For this field, we will need to change the type to numbers, which will show us a list of infinite numbers, from where our guests can select the proper information. On the next field, we will choose to show a date. Select the proper field type to be date, and this will give users the opportunity to pick a certain day from the calendar. From the Advanced tab of the form field, you can set a default value or an ID for the particular field, as well as copy the shortcode for the field. Let's wrap up the other fields. For our last field, we will explore the field type a little. From the Type option, choose Radio. A few other settings will pop up. Type in the label for the field, and under Options, here you will write down all the types of options you want to make available. To make each option distinct, write them each on a separate line. Switch the handle on for inline list to show the items in one line. Other types of fields like checkbox and select will help you build multiple option lists, but for our design, we'll go with radio. Nevertheless, you can try out all the field types available, starting from URL, telephone number, acceptance, that's useful for when you add a terms and agreement section to the form, date, time. You can let the visitors upload files, add a password, or you can include custom HTML to your form. The hidden type stands for adding a hidden input field. This will help developers include data that cannot be seen by visitors. And lastly, you can add a reCAPTCHA to further secure your form. Each of the field types will have their own corresponding options different to one another. We're done with the form fields. Let's go to the Submit button section. From here, you can type in the text that will be displayed inside the button. You can set its size, Set the column width. You can reduce the width of the button depending on your design. In our case, 100% will do just fine. If you set a width value smaller than 100%, you can align the button left, center, right, as well as add an icon or an ID for the button. In the Action After Submit section, now this is where the magic happens. In the drop-down menu, you will have options to choose from that will be performed after a user submits your form. In our case, this invitation. You can choose to be notified by an email, to redirect them to a thank you page, integrate it with MailChimp, or a pop-up. All these actions are valid, and when either one is selected, a new section on the panel will emerge, containing all the proper settings for the action. If you wish to integrate your form with MailChimp, the popular email marketing platform, simply select it, and from its designated section, you can add your API key if you set it to custom, or you can add your API key from the Neuron panel, go to Settings, locate MailChimp, and add your API key there. You can add your audience to collect data for a specific purpose. For the last section in the Content tab, you have additional options. From here, you can add an ID to your form to add custom messages. Now finally, let's move on to the Styles tab. We will need to set the column gap and the row gap to the value of 30 pixels. Set the text color for the labels. Let's choose one from our global list. We will use the same color for the required mark as well. Also, don't forget to tweak the typography options. Once again, our design system will save us time and trouble. For the HTML field, fine-tune those typography options. Now let's configure the fields. Set the color for the fields. This dark gray seems fantastic. Select a border color as well, and this time a lighter gray will work wonders. Set the border width to the value of 1 and the border radius to the value of 0. This will make the edges of the form sharper. Add some padding, and you're good to go. And now let's tweak the button settings while we're here. Set a background color. Once again, the border radius will be set to 0. We will add some text padding to the top and bottom part of our button. If you are using custom messages, you can style them here. And we're done with styling our form. This is our final result. This concludes our video. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more guides and tutorials.